Hey everybody, how you doing? It is late. It's 2:17 in the morning in the east, which makes it 11:17 in Las Vegas. Yes, 11, 12, 1. Yep, that's right. 3 hours difference. And a lot of people are still buzzing after the groundbreaking on Monday of the Oakland A's Las Vegas ballpark. And it was quite successful. My only misgiving, I'm still going to make a video about this, is that Dave Cobble wasn't appropriately celebrated. Nothing against my friend Mark Bedane, but Dave Cobble worked from 2017. He was hired specifically to do that project. 2017 to last year, really earlier this year. um, uh, when it said that he resigned in 2024. So if you think about it, see, that is a good 7 years, 7 years, 7 years, almost 8, 7 years working on getting the ballpark to where it has gotten to, a groundbreaking, a successful one. Monday, the 23rd of June of 2025. And sadly, Dave Cobble was not there to enjoy it. Hey, RD Moss. Um, I don't know what that means. When they say Dave was very difficult, what does it mean? Does that mean Dave was difficult in that he was demanding? Difficult in that he was what? I I'll I'll address that later, but I will address it. I didn't make this video to start with that, but it's related to what I'm going to talk about. Let me get to that right now. This is what I want to talk about. Yesterday, this occurred. This was by Las Vegas A's Dash News, and this was 3:06 p.m. on the 23rd, which was day before yesterday. Actually, this person wrote this on Monday. I don't know if this person's a man or woman, not that it matters, but well, sometimes it does. But my whole point is, they wrote this now that the shovels are officially in the ground. You can read it, right? Let me make it bigger. One more. Okay. Now that the shovels are officially in the ground, I want to say how happy I am for all you guys and gals. I guess you know who you are. You're out here fighting every day to make sure the truth gets out, taking the constant bashing from those hateful in the Bay Area and one in northern Nevada. Enjoy today. Smile. You've earned it. Now it's time to count down the days to 2028. We are Market 40. We are Vegas strong. And I didn't quite know what this person meant by what they wrote. So, I looked at it and I thought, it didn't, this person and I have never had a bad exchange. So I was puzzled by that. And so what I wrote was, uh, there's a backstory here because, yes, we had a good relationship, but only one hiccup that happened before he posted this. And it was where he had sent me a private note about, we had a private discussion about this whole matter of Oakland. And he said that he understood that I did it for clicks. Uh, and my point was, I don't do it for clicks. I didn't explain in depth why I did it, but very simply, I'm an Oakland vlogger, also a Las Vegas vlogger now. But as I look at it, the Oakland A's are just like the Oakland Raiders. and the Oakland Raiders were moving to Las Vegas. The Raiders in Las Vegas didn't try to remove Oakland from their name, but there seems to be this effort to try to remove Oakland from the name Athletics, and you can see it out there. I think it is not a good idea. It's not a good idea for one simple reason. If you take a look at the headlines around just after this event of the groundbreaking, you will see references to Oakland Athletics build Las Vegas ballpark. And there's something else. Folks, Las Vegas already has a Las Vegas ballpark. It is a minor league facility. So you have to distinguish which one you're talking about. Okay. Are you talking about the current Las Vegas ballpark that's the minor league facility? Or are you talking about the to come Las Vegas ballpark that is by the Oakland Athletics and they're moving because they want to build it? What I just said right there tells the story in brief. You cannot tell the story of the Oakland A's Las Vegas ballpark without mentioning Oakland, because it is Oakland's failures that caused this whole matter to start. A number of people want to point the finger at John Fisher. I don't, because John Fisher didn't own the Oakland Coliseum, and the way John Fisher runs his businesses, he wants those businesses to generate revenue so they can pay for themselves and not be a net loss to him, which is what a lot of people forget. Okay? A lot of people forget that. They want him to spend his money just because he's a billionaire. That's stupid, folks. All right? That is just piling on stupid upon stupid. If you're able to build a business that can generate several billion, you don't then use that money and just waste it like that. You always combine it with money that other investors want to put in, including the city. And the city's going to benefit from it arguably more than anybody else except the team itself. Why? Because, and here's where I argue that these economic estimates are not hooey. You have to start from the fact that you're bringing baseball to a city that never had it before, Major League Baseball. So you're causing people by the many thousands to pack up their bags and come to your city, Las Vegas, for a weekend. And people want to do that anyway. So what better incentive than to cheer on their team? It doesn't matter if it's the Yankees or the Royals or the Giants or any organization in Major League Baseball. They will all come to Las Vegas now, all of them. And so that in and of itself, that revenue that's generated adds to the total franchise value of the team, but it also adds to the total economic benefit of Las Vegas. Just landing, getting off the plane, going to call a Uber or a taxi, stopping to get lunch at the airport, you already begin to feed in to the economic benefit of Las Vegas when you're doing all that because you came in, because that ballpark there provides the venue for you to watch your team. All right? Your team. And if you're an A's fan from out of town, same process. And there are going to be a lot of A's fans from out of town, transplanted Oaklanders, A's fans who are always someplace else other than Oakland, are going to want to see the A's in Las Vegas. That adds up to an enormous economic impact. You can't say it doesn't. It equals spending. And then you have to consider television and the internet. The many thousands of times annually, and then the millions of times those thousands of times will be heard or seen online that have the name Las Vegas in it. That has never happened to Las Vegas before. And it presents another event opportunity for the city of Las Vegas to benefit. I'll explain what I mean. Sphere. When Sphere was built, Sphere was launched around the 4th of July. Do you know what one of the most searched terms was for on that day, on that 4th of July? Las Vegas Sphere. Look it up. That's true. Okay? So who does that benefit? It benefited Las Vegas. All right? Great advertising for Las Vegas. A new thing to see in Las Vegas, which many people have flown Las Vegas to do just that. Has it reached a saturation point? I don't think so. I think the Sphere is a great kind of thing to hold people's interest until other big things come along. Like, for example, the Athletics Ballpark. Like, for example, the Guitar Hotel for Hard Rock, which is going to be awesome in Vegas. You've never seen it before. So, this, don't make no mistake about it. You have to tell the story of what the A's gain in Las Vegas and what Las Vegas gains, but what Oakland loses because Oakland didn't make the right moves. And I am all about government making the right moves. And few of you out there understand the role of government in stadiums, which is really a shame. You're too quick to be angry at the owner because you don't like the way he runs his team. You have no thought of what the government did. It's too technical for you, but you don't want to admit it. And you don't want somebody like me explaining to you that, hey, you know what? This is how you have to think about it. Well, I'm sorry, folks, but I'm not sorry. This is something you all need to learn. And I'm going to continue to remind you of the importance of government because my theory is that if you don't pay attention to this sort of thing, you're not going to get out to vote. All right? You're not going to be involved, even at a local level, in who your council member is or, heck, your dog catcher. All right? These are important matters. Some of the most important matters in your life that you don't even get involved in. Get off the couch, get involved in government. Don't start yelling about John all the time. And get real. It's really terrible how you guys are who choose to be that way. It's retrograde. It's not smart. It just doesn't even work. All right. Anyway, so he wrote that about and Big and Strong, and I wrote, I have to get after you for being triggered when you see the name Oakland. There's lessons in what happened here that need to be explained, and I'm going to go do that. Before you came along, I explained the case for the A's leaving Oakland in this article entitled November 25th, 2021, Oakland A's start leaving for Las Vegas. And I'm not going to go through a whole presentation of it, but I'm going to show you, that's what it looks like real quick, because I want you to take some time to read it. Not now, of course, but this is what I want you to see. Already, I see you've got your comments there. I'll get to them real quick, all right? This is zenireport.com, and this is the article. There. All you have to do is type in search November 25th, 2021, because that is the day that I wrote that the Athletics should leave for Las Vegas. And I wrote why. I said the city of Oakland had not finished the tax increment financing zone was the primary issue, which would give many, many millions in subsidy to the organization. Arguably, in one scenario, almost $1 billion, and another one, $1 billion. Okay, so, but read this. This is what I wrote back then. And so, I then had to, when I scrolled down here, we were having our exchange. It went something like this. There was that. Yeah, and let me see here. Got to go and hit replies. All right, and then scroll down a bit. It was down, down, down. All right. Okay. And down more. Now we're into a couple days. So there was a lot of water under the bridge between there. Now, again, I don't have anything personally against this fellow. I don't know who he is. But I do have something personally against the action of telling me basically, you don't talk about Oakland. You don't say anything about Oakland. We've heard enough. Well, that's okay. That's too bad. All right. Okay. And then it's stuff like this right here. Let me show you the other thing as I was working to counter, if you will, right here. So let me stop that, go back to Twitter, and yeah, here, right there. And I'm going to have to enlarge this as well. So to zoom in here once more, and then once more again. Yeah, where it reads, read the tea leaves. The Athletics ballpark in Las Vegas will never be complete. John Fisher is not financially able to overcome the cost of living expenses associated with this project. We lost the Tropicana for nothing. Prove me wrong. Fisher will make a blank out of Las Vegas. First of all, John Fisher is not financially able to overcome the cost of living expenses associated with a project. There are no cost of living expenses associated with a ballpark project. Okay, they're not there. All right, what you're thinking about is construction costs. But again, folks, what many of you don't understand is that the materials to build the structure for the ballpark have already been purchased. All right, and they're stored. Some of them are stored in another state. Some of them are stored in another country. Sometimes they store them in Canada and then go up to get them, particularly when they're large, like beams and everything, and bring them down. But that ship sailed. They had a meeting with all of the contractors regarding who was going to bid on the material purchase for these different projects and who was going to work on installing them and what they do with, so be they pipe fitters or iron workers. All those meetings were primarily done. I say primarily because they still have a schedule of them that takes us through this year. But by, I believe, November, they will be completely finished with those. Okay? All right? So, so I wrote this. I said, the ballpark process will prove you wrong. And why do you want the A's to put up with Oakland's never-ending dysfunction? And you can read about that here. Okay? All right? That's what I wrote. And so you scroll down some more past the other automatic articles that come up through here, and we have this. All right? This is the first exchange when I wrote that. Okay? And then I wrote, have to give after you for being triggered, right? And he writes, I think you misunderstood my words. I don't get triggered. Let me make sure you can see that. Yeah. I don't get triggered over Oakland. Oakland means nothing to me. What I meant is don't disrespect Las Vegas by calling them the Oakland A's. They aren't Oakland anymore unless you're referring to them past tense. Our city deserves that. And he says, our city deserves that respect for pulling this off. We want to distance ourselves far, far away from Oakland. This is what he writes. The sooner people realize that, the better it is for those of us here. They are the Athletics for now, and soon to be the Las Vegas Athletics. No harm, no foul. Keep doing you. It's all good. I wrote back this. What you believe Las Vegas deserves is your issue, but good search engine optimization is mine. Try understanding how under search technology works. Not everything is us versus them. And the last person who acted like you wound up killing someone in front of the Bellagio. Take a chill pill. And this refers to a YouTuber who, unbeknownst to the people he assailed, he was stalking them because they were having these stupid arguments using YouTube channels. And the guy that he went to kill had devoted 95% of his video output to making fun of this other guy. At any rate, he wrote, so I'm a killer now. Come on, bro. SEO is searching for organic people to follow your posts. If you need to pander to Oakland, that's cool. I have no issues with that. If you're trying to engage with Las Vegas people, that's not the way to do it. That's all I'm saying. I can't say that any more clear. We'll be good without you. And I wrote back, again, your words. SEO is search for organic people to follow your post. No, it's not. And it isn't. Search engine optimization is about the placement of an article. Okay, it's not about Twitter. It's about a placement in search of an article. And it's about you, yes, you want people to see it, but you also want it to be found in overarching internet search beyond Twitter. All right. I'm giving you just a hint to how I think about this. And then I wrote, and clearly you're not getting that this is a complicated matter, and it is. We'll be, end quote, we'll be good without you is a silly thing to write. Just please stop. And Mitch says, dilly dilly. And he says, I'm very happy for you too, Mitch. You tried to remain neutral through all the crap. I hope you enjoy today. And he said, thanks. I was fairly neutral until they announced Las Vegas. Then I tried to remain empathetic. That's been much harder. Today was pretty special. And he says, well, if we all keep rolling in the same direction, we'll get together. Okay. And all right, he says, who's that? All right. Okay. And he says, now hopefully everyone in Las Vegas can watch the A's. I can't believe that Cox hasn't picked up A's games yet. And he Las Vegas says, I know from speaking with Manfred personally about this, he acknowledged that there has been a lot of issues with regional sport networks in Las Vegas. Most of us know how many blackouts we get. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we see a package come out similar to the Diamondbacks. Give it some time, but it's coming. And okay, so this guy's a Trump fan. We see that as well. Oh boy. Okay. And so we have the Las Vegas Matt guy who says we can rejoice in the knowledge that despite what the brainwashed dirt hawkers have believed, the truth is one that brings jobs, opportunities, and Major League Baseball to Las Vegas. Something special about knowing, more confidently, I might add, that we were right the entire time and they weren't. See, this is us versus them stuff, okay? And he says 100%. And the new dive bar says, I'm very proud of us who stuck this out. This day was another day they said wouldn't happen and all this. Let's go Vegas, okay? And see, here's the thing. These folks are, they're common. And he says it's worth the discussions and blocks from those who put up the blinders to reality. The moment Dave said Las Vegas was in the picture, it was all over for Oakland. They had no leverage with a world-class city that's business friendly, all right? And they don't get it at all, okay? Say, cool story, bro, okay? It's a great day for baseball, sure. But here's the thing, and I'll go back to my point. My point is this. All of these folks out here talking, all right, I beat them all. Again, on the 25th of November of 2021, I wrote that the Athletics should move to Las Vegas because as the person who single-handedly formed the bid to bring the 2005 Super Bowl to Oakland, we lost to Jacksonville for that contest at the Fall NFL Owners Meeting in 2000, I have seen and been affected firsthand by Oakland's cultural problem of not meeting the timetable of a sports organization. This is, a major issue. It is a major issue. It's gone on for a long, long time now. We're talking about the turn of the century. That's now 25 years ago to present day. And that problem has reared its head on many occasions. Not only when I was doing it, when the Raiders were contemplating a move to Las Vegas, and somehow Ronnie Lott had formed a group to be the developer for Oakland, which, frankly speaking, I was, and nothing insulting to Ronnie, not intended, but I'm just being honest. Of all the people in the world to be developers, I didn't see Ronnie Lott as a stadium developer. He had no experience in it, zero. And so you're left kind of making up and contorting. And there are certain concepts that, frankly speaking, Ronnie didn't understand at the time. Like, for example, the idea of taking part of your property that you own and selling it for revenue to build, other parts of the stadium. He thought I was crazy because he wrote that to me. He says, you're crazy. I thought, I'm not crazy. I was just spinning because I was just like spinning around different ideas and we were exchanging emails. So at that point, I looked at the email and I thought, you know what? I am going to back off having an exchange with him because he doesn't get it. But yet that's who we had to play with. And we were not, by contrast, who was on the side of Mark Davis? Well, first of all, let's face it, the NFL, Okay. Uh, and the NFL is really working with him because he is part of the club. Mark Davis is. Um, then they have Majestic, and of course Mr. Adelson. Majestic is a developer, and they had um, Craig Cavalier involved at the time. These are all seasoned hospitality and entertainment and sports venue developer people. Understand? And where they're not seasoned, they can get a hold, in the Raiders case, of somebody like, um, I believe it was Larry Threlkill, who was. And we had nobody like that in Oakland. And Fred, the gentleman who had the ENA, um, um, uh, wasn't getting it done. He spent a lot of his time trying to lobby for the city to get him 400 million, and then word came out by his own mouth that he was talking to Mark Davis about buying part of the A's for 200 million. So I put it together. I said, wait a minute, you're going to get 400 million from the city of Oakland, or you're trying to, all right, which would have been at the time tax increment financing, because yeah, back then Jerry hadn't killed it. Okay, it was still, it hadn't been. Well, excuse me, it had been. That was 2017, 2016. No, I'm sorry, it had been killed, but he was still trying to get 400 million from, in some kind of way, from the city of Oakland. Um, and actually, we could have used tax increment financing because it was just signed into law in late 2015. So we could have used it, but it never came up. Whatever. But at that time, it was generally believed that, hey, you can only use tax increment financing for a special case, like they let the Warriors do it. All right. At any rate, for their new arena, Chase Center, now called Chase Center. Anyway, uh, Floyd Gephardt the developer, was trying to get $400 million from the city of Oakland and the county of Alameda. But then you're going to use 200 million of it to buy the A's. That's essentially what he was doing. That's the optics. So that's the way it looks. So if you're a taxpayer, citizen 101 in Oakland, and you hear this and you believe that, hey, the city, even if the city is spending a little bit of its money, or even if it's generating the money through tax increment financing, it's still not a good look. Tax increment financing won't touch the city's general fund. It's still not a good look. All right, to have taxpayer dollars being used to give to a private individual to buy part of a sports team, right? But that's what Floyd Gephardt was trying to do. I made a beeline to my god sister, Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf. I had a private meeting with her that lasted 8 minutes. That's all I needed to make the case personally to her that Floyd Gephardt was working behind our back, trying to enrich himself by maneuvering to buy part of the Raiders. And I said, that's going to make you look bad. So you know what? Boom. He gets booted, much to the pleasure of NFL business head Eric Grubman, who was the point person for the stadium issue, right? Because Eric could not stand Floyd Gephardt. He described him as a bad penny. At any rate, um, that's what we were dealing with. We were dealing with a person who he didn't have a track record anywhere. And see, the Coliseum had this habit of attracting people like that. It didn't matter if it was Floyd Gephardt or a couple of other people. There was a guy named Tariq Hassan who tried to befriend me because he wanted to meet Libby and thought that I could get him Libby. And I said, I can't get you Libby. All right. And he had some scheme uh, to finance part of a stadium through airport landing fees. And I said to him, that in and of itself sounds, flimsy, because you're dealing with, well, the economics of flight and scheduling and everything else. And if you have a bad economy, you're stuck. And then, of course, then again, when you think about it, how much money are we talking about, and how many um, landings will we have to have in order for that to actually pencil out? He had none of that figured out, folks. He claimed he did. He kept saying, I have a spreadsheet. I said, yeah, let me see it. Same with the other fellow, Rick, um, whose name flew out of my head, but would talk to quite a bit. He surfaced twice in the Coliseum. And I thought these folks were FBI plants trying to get some dirt on Oakland City Councilman Larry Reed, because there are people who like to, entrap black council members, that sort of thing, because they think that they're dirty because they're black. Yeah, people were screwed up like that. It's the essence of racism is you have people who are really mentally ill like that, who think that because you're black, you're always trying to find an angle. But guess what? They're also always trying to find an angle. And maybe it's a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black, but the reality is the pot that they're looking at isn't really what they are, but the person who's calling them that thinks they are because they're racist. Okay, that goes on a lot. And Larry Reed was the target among other people. So, and so when Tariq contacted me, I called Libby first right off, and Libby said, "I don't want to deal with this guy." I said, "Libby, I don't blame you. All right." And I was blunt with him to the point of being nasty. And so, but he just kept coming back and coming back, coming back, and I'll give him the same thing. And eventually, after about a year and a half, he backed off. A year and a half. And I wrote about this guy too. Okay, I wrote about this guy. So my point is, these are the kind of people we were attracting as developers, quote unquote. All right, we weren't getting key people, and what we should have done is went with the NFL, who actually wanted to buy the property for us for a nominal rate. We should let them do it. It would have been great to have the National Football League on our side. That would have entirely turned everything. Okay, but we didn't do it that way. And so let me go back to so again, our story is tied in with the Las Vegas story in a way that is inescapable. I'm sorry, Las Vegas folks, it just is. R.D. Moss, okay. Then he says the ownership of the Aviators, and said Fisher was easy to work with, but with Dave was rude and condescending. I haven't experienced that with Dave. I would like to think Dave was a friend, even though he hasn't responded to my text or anything. I don't recall we having a falling out. I do know, however, that we said we talked about quite a bit in the 8 episodes we did. Some of them were as long as, I believe, an hour. Several of them were an hour. Many of them were beyond 30 minutes in length. They were long form. And it's quite possible he said something in those conversations that maybe he shouldn't have said. I don't know. Whatever the case, I think they are among the most valuable conversations I've had in this business that I do in all the years that I've done them. And I would like to have thought that I opened up Dave and allow people to see what he was thinking about different things related to the ballpark. But then he just went silent, gone. I have heard from other people that have associations in Major League Baseball that Dave had a problem. I'll just be straight on honest, because I like Dave. This is a matter. I don't mean to put Dave down, but this is a matter of the business of why this didn't go, and unfortunately, he is at the center of it. And so now there's a lot I don't know, because you can do the things that I'm about to mention, but it doesn't make you a bad person because they're not inherently bad. And I don't believe that they were the straw that broke the camel's back. I could be wrong, but what the problem was, one of being able to make a deal with a person and then turn around and know that person is not going to sandbag you. Okay. And unfortunately, Dave had a habit of doing that started in Oakland and carried to Las Vegas. And Las Vegas is a place that is very old school. It is a mob city in a good way. You heard this come out in the groundbreaking. How many times did someone say, like the governor said it, I can trust that guy. I can trust these guys. If you want something, I love that way of doing business personally. That's just me. Like when Governor Lombardo looked over the Tony and Anthony. Okay, think about that. One guy is Tony, the other is Anthony. Isn't Anthony Tony? Anyway, okay. Um, the Marinelli brothers. All right, and he goes, if you want to get something done in this town, okay, you want to get something done around here, you can't do it without. There in every walk of life. There's somebody you need to talk to. In this case, it was Tony and Anthony. Okay, that resonated with me. I hadn't heard that in a long time, and I hadn't heard it in so long that it was like a nice shower, right? Because in in the Oakland case, we hadn't had that. We didn't have people running around where you could say, if you need something, call him. Like if the city were on its J, they would say, look, if I need somebody to do tax income financing calculations, I'll go to Zinni. I won't go to public PFM. I'll go to Zinni. He's done it for 37 years. He studies this stuff religiously, right? But see, that's not how Oakland thinks anymore. But there was a time when Oakland did. All right. Now, if somebody needs me, they want to get their story out, like Mike Hutchinson of the Oakland School Board texted me, said, can I come on your show? He did. But my whole point is, I love that. You know what your value is. You know where it lay. And you're the guy or gal that can get it done for people. That means something. And that folks, that forms a family. I call it the can-do family. Every city that's worth its salt, that's worth visiting, worth living in, worth being a part of, has people like that. Las Vegas is one of those people. Oakland is less becoming one of those people, one of those cities that has those people. Okay? Because Oakland, like the city of Oakland, isn't embracing people that worked for it. It's hiring people from the outside that don't know it. And so what happens, you hire somebody from the outside, you don't know them, they don't know you, but they have a high position like this chief administrative officer. But how can you trust them to watch your back? You can't. Because they're new and they may change allegiances in a second. Back to Dave. Dave had a lot of that problem in Las Vegas. When I was at, and I've said this before and I'll say this again, when I was at the um, introductory press conference and presentation for the 2022 NFL Draft in Las Vegas, we were in the middle of Las Vegas Boulevard and Flamingo. I met a number of people from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. I was got to talking to one gentleman, and we're talking about the athletics in the ballpark, and I asked, how's it going, and how's Dave, coming along, and he said, Dave's, he's got to know more people. He doesn't really have a feel for how we work. I heard that again and again and again and again and again. Now, you would be right to ask, what does that mean? Okay. But I never got a crystal clear explanation of it. I think the reason is, you're talking to people who are inherently very nice and they don't want to be seen as talking crap about somebody. But when you're working on something that ultimately involves the input and the money, in some cases, of some very important people, okay, then it comes down to one-to-one relationships. And those people who are part of that community fabric have to believe they can trust you. And Dave was not generating that trust, whereas Mark Bedane, in working on what became Allegiant Stadium for the Raiders, had developed that, okay? And that was the difference. Now, again, I don't know what the straw that broke the camel's back situation was that caused Dave to maybe realistically be fired rather than, and so he resigned to save face. But whatever the case, he was out. And I would always tell people that I know who have their tentacles in different places in Major League Baseball. Hey, I like Dave. Dave's a nice guy, but I would never get that return. So how Dave was handling people in this way caught up to him. And I didn't see Dave as condescending because in my bailiwick with tax increment financing, he didn't know what he didn't know. And I remember he told me, we had our first conversation. This was April 4th of 2017 on the phone. That wasn't our first one. Our first one was when I was at his press conference earlier that week, but earlier the previous month, because that was April 4th. At any rate, I was saying on the phone, you're going to have to build affordable housing in order to get your approvals done for Howard Terminal. And I said, you can use tax increment financing. And he says, oh no, public money isn't available. But I turned him on to SB 628 Beal, the father of all enhanced infrastructure financing district legislation in California. Um, and instead of using that legislation, and I don't know how this story came about, but I got wind of bits and pieces of it. And then they were planning a new bill for the California legislature, which ultimately was called SB 293 Skinner. And so I called it the Zinni Abraham TIF zone, much to the chagrin of some people who have their sports blogs or whatever. I don't care, because the idea started with me. I had not only told Dave about the legislation, I had already written a spreadsheet. I already costed out what the subsidy might be for affordable housing and why. I laid all that out in my preliminary presentation over the phone and then to email. Okay. So he had all that stuff because he hadn't done any work on it. I did. So, so when you feel like you have an intellectual center from which to deal with someone in that case, you don't feel inadequate. Dave, and I think the reason why I felt like I got along with him, and remember we talked for a number, I mean a number of videos, a large number of them, and they were not like 2 minutes like on television news. They were long. Again, 30-minute video, 40-minute video, 50-minute video, an hour, right? Okay. Most of the time, just he and I. Once it was he, Richard Hake, our great blogger and A's fan, Oakland A's style, and me, just the one time. A lot of great discussions there about term sheets, the fact that they weren't getting the right tax and financing calculations, and so on. Technical stuff. So that's my experience working with Dave. And again, I shared with you what I heard from other people. And Mark, what I've heard about from Mark is that Mark is a smooth frat guy type. He prizes loyalty and is loyal. There you are. Okay, there it is. All right, there it is. Okay. So RD says, I feel bad for the fans in Oakland that lost their team and angry at people like Brody, Last Dive Bar, and schools over stadiums that prey upon their heartbeat for personal gain and attention. Okay. I hear RD. RD says, I know it's Flea Market Floppy Disk says, I know it's sad to see Moss. And then Nate says, is there a larger valued Forbes list of professional sports franchises with less of a fan base than the Athletics? I would venture at this point, I would venture a guess that the answer would be, I'm sure there is. I'm thinking the Rays, right? The Rays just seem to jump out of my mind, maybe. I would, and then I have to do a process of the elimination. And I think when the White Sox are good, their fan base is ignited, and Chicago is a big city, so they don't count. There are a number of cities in the Midwest I'm thinking of that don't count because they're cities in the Midwest. And so you're looking at the South. The Braves certainly don't count. They have a fantastic fan base, a fantastic place to play, and a fantastic place called Battery Park, but the Battery, excuse me. And so you think about then Kansas, nope, not Kansas City. It's very hard to find, maybe the Arizona Diamondbacks. Nah. Okay, no. So where we're at is the Miami Marlins, I would say maybe I would say perhaps the Miami Marlins. Uh, I would say they're probably equivalent. Again, I'll have to research that in terms of size of season ticket base, right? So, but I'll have to research that, Nate. But there you go. All right. So anyway, um, there's my commentary about that. And as it's almost three, well, it is 3 in the morning. I'm going to say sayonara, and see you all soon. And subscribe if you haven't done so. Please subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube, and also please join our membership club. I'm working on a new list of goodies for you when you join, as opposed to just getting some special sticker, which you get. All right. Oh, Nate said all sports, not just baseball. Oh, hold on a second. Sure. I would have to say, when I think about basketball, well, okay, basketball, you're looking at uh, you have to think of small market teams. You have the Pacers and the Thunder, um, but they're not examples because they're just in the finals. That really helps your bottom line a lot in your fan base. So I think of the Washington Wizards, perhaps, um, in the nation's capital, uh, perhaps. Nah, um, no, not a good choice. Okay, again, I have to think about that some more, and I come to the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah, the Atlanta Hawks, I think, fit somewhere in there. All right, they are not super popular because they haven't fielded a super good team in a city that's not known as being a basketball city. Um, it's just urban enough to have basketball, but this isn't the place where you hear about Rucker Park, right, or something like that. So I would say Atlantic Hawks are one candidate, and the Pelicans, of course, New Orleans, the Pelicans, right, are another. Yeah. So there you go. All right, there you go. And I'll think of another list. That's a good one to do another series around. All right. Okay, folks. I'll see you all later. Thanks.